Judith Rolfs here, marriage and family counselor and author, and I want to present to you during our little brief time together some powerful, simple tips for enhancing relationships. I know that these really work. I've used them with thousands of couples, so I hope that you will find them of benefit. But before we proceed, by way of background, I knew absolutely nothing about relationships before I became a marriage and family counselor. You know, we don't have school classes in high school that teach us about how to deal with interacting with others, and I so wish we did. But until we do, what happened in my life was that I learned from television sitcoms how to interact. And way back when, that was watching shows like Old Movies and I Love Lucy. And if you noticed from I Love Lucy, she was always manipulating Desi to get her way and usually hiding something from him. Well, when my husband and I had an argument in the early years, I thought I would have to pout and wait for him to say that he was sorry. Unfortunately, that never worked. He came from a family where he was the firstborn son, firstborn grandson on both sides, and he never said he was sorry in his life until he met me. And I asked him when we were out for dinner last week if that was actually true, or if I was exaggerating. He said, no, it's true. So obviously he did not come around and apologize. After a week of drama and silence and slamming a cabinet occasionally for dramatic effect, I ended up apologizing to him and life went on. But obviously that was not a good long-term situation, so I decided to become a marriage and family counselor and learn some good principles. And the first thing I realized was that nothing is more important in our lives than relationships. Nothing can bring us greater delight when they're going well, or greater agony and sleepless nights if they are not going smoothly. So I'm going to give you some key tips, and the foundation of them is to keep in mind that every human being in your life, you included, has three basic needs. We need to be noticed. We want people aware of us. We want to be appreciated. And from time to time, we thrive on being affirmed. So we have needs for awareness from others, appreciation, and affirmation. And in our relationship, these are met through communication. Well, in the course of my studies in graduate school, I ended up developing a tool that I call the Intimacy Reviver to help assure that this kind of communication happens regularly in a marriage. So I devised 3 questions that a spouse asks his spouse and vice versa, and they are designed to get those 3 topics discussed. The first question is, when did you feel closest to me in the past week? Because I suggest this be done weekly. When were you most acutely aware of my presence with you? And then you share that, and then your spouse shares that with you. Perhaps it was when you went for a walk, or when you both plopped on the sofa at the same time to watch a TV show. But it's thinking back to when I was aware of this being a special time for us. And the second question is, what was the nicest thing I did for you? You ask that of your spouse. Sometimes I know my husband would have to think, well, what did you do? And I might have to remind him of a few things that he might not have noticed. Putting on a button on his shirt, or bringing him a lemonade when he was outside working in the yard. I used to think he'd like a nice homemade meal. That was special. Well, I soon found out, no, that wasn't a big deal, but something out of the ordinary mattered to him. So I began to do more of what he liked and vice versa. And the third question is, when were you proudest of me? And I'm not talking about big awards here. It could be something small, like when one of our adult children called, wanted to talk to you, but you were watching your favorite TV news show, and I knew you didn't want to be disturbed, but I saw that you took time and allowed yourself to be interrupted, and you gave full attention. So we always get more of what we affirm, those kind of behaviors that we like to have. Now you can do this as a structured back and forth question format, or you can weave those 3 principles into your conversation. The principles of awareness of your spouse or another important person that you want to be in relationship with, and appreciation and affirmation. You can start with one question if you want, or you can be creative and add on some others, as I know some couples have done. As long as you cover those 3 principles, and it will lead to some very interesting conversations, I guarantee it. We have been doing this for decades, and it has kept our marriage vibrant and exciting. We're not just talking about humdrum things like who's picking up children or who's taking out the garbage and details of life. It gets you into the feeling plane. So try it. I think you will really like it. Thank you.